Hello, and welcome to the next part of this lesson. When we last left off, we had just finished adding a geographically located aerial image to our file that has the contour lines. In this next lesson, we'll take that a little bit further. We'll end up with a deck outline as well as simplified contour lines that represent the land underneath the water. This is commonly referred to as bathymetry. To start with, you'll want to open a file called 01 contours plus map image if you did not complete the previous lesson. This will get you caught up to speed, and it has the aerial image and the contours already brought in to their correct location. Now, you'll want to start by zooming in to the pier that we have. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to trace the pier outline. And I prefer to use polyline because it's going to give us a few advantages as we start to place content. Now, I'll pick a point somewhere over this white line, which is a railing around the pier. I'll pick one point at the beginning and one point at the end. Now, in reality, most likely this pier is not perfectly straight. However, for the purposes of our concept that we're going to do, this will be close enough. So I've drawn one polyline. I'll select that and I'll copy it to the other side of the pier. And I'm copying it because I want to make sure that these lines are parallel. If we end up with lines that are not parallel, it's going to make life in Revit painful, to say the least. So we've got the edges of our pier. If we have pop-outs like this lifeguard tower, we'll select the polyline and again we'll copy it. We'll get it close enough and we'll make another polyline to the side that's perpendicular. So we'll start our polyline command and we'll choose to make a line that's perpendicular, like so. We'll go ahead and move that over, and again we'll copy so that we ensure we keep things perpendicular to each other. To get these corners trimmed up, I'll use a command called fillet and pick the two objects to get them to fillet together. And you'll also notice that because I'm using a polyline, it's become one object. I mentioned there was a reason why I like to use polylines, and this is partly why. It helps to keep the drawing a little bit simplified. We can also use the command extend. And we can also use trim to trim out that segment. Again, we'll make another polyline over here that's perpendicular. Actually, let me start that over, and we'll make a regular line. The reason that I'm doing a regular line is because I want to make sure that I have an object here that's perpendicular to my pier edge. So again, line command, right click, choose perpendicular, and again we'll draw this out all the way and we'll set it over here along this edge. Again, I'll copy these around. And I'll use fillet to get my corners to clean up. Make another line perpendicular to that. And again, I'll fillet them. Here I'm extending them, trimming. So you can see it's your typical basic AutoCAD commands. Now you could watch me continue to sit here and copy lines, draw lines, and copy the outline of the pier, the base footprint of the pier, and keep on doing that. Or you could flip over to drawing number 2, contours plus map image plus deck outline. And in this file, you'll find that I've already finished building the deck outline for you. A great way to get a jump start on your deck outline. Hopefully, once you've completed your deck outline, it's got a good footprint of the pier that will allow us to recreate this footprint in Revit. Now, there's another thing that we need to clean up in this file. And in this file, we've got these lines that represent the bathymetry along our shore. And if you zoom in close enough, you can see that these are very jagged lines. They're very short segments. We have these isolated little islands that are, well, let's just say these things are not very friendly once you get into Revit. It's great for typical bathymetry data, but not so great for creating a topo surface within Revit. Because of that, we want to simplify this data. And we also want to make it complete. You'll notice that for this row of bathymetry, there isn't really even one line. It's just all these islands of data. And these 2 lines don't even stretch all the way along the beach where we want them. So we're going to use a little bit of imagination, if you will. So we'll go ahead and start our polyline command. And we're going to start to approximate the shapes that we see here. Now, depending on how you approximate the shapes will affect the quality of the resultant topo surface that we create in Revit. And yes, there's commands and other tools built on top of AutoCAD that can very quickly simplify this data. But we're just focused on getting our information into Revit from AutoCAD, so we're just doing it this way. Now there's a number of things that you could do at this point. You could select the polyline, you could hover over that grip and choose to convert it to an arc and place it like that. And as you continue to go along this information, having arcs will end up with more graceful contour lines instead of these jagged, sharp corners that you see at a couple of these points. And again, you would want to continue to do that along each of these elevations. The other thing that's important is to ensure that the polyline you draw matches the elevation for the data that you're tracing over. In this case, the line I've drawn is at -30 elevation. And this data, when I select it, because it's a block, it's not telling me my elevation. If I were to explode it, as I mentioned we should do earlier, and look at properties, you'll see that the vertex is at -30. So that confirms for me that we are now creating our data at the correct elevation. Now, obviously, you don't want to watch me sit here and trace bathymetry data, so I've already gone ahead and finished that for you in this last file, 03 contours plus map image plus deck outline, simple bathy. So this file here contains our simplified bathymetry, our deck outline, and our land contours. One last thing I'll point out is layer management. The information for the pier is on a layer, if we look at properties, called pier outline. The bathymetry is on a layer called major contours, as well as the land side major contours. So our data is on the proper layers, and doing so will allow us to isolate specific content in Revit as we go through and create our topo surface and our deck surface for our existing pier. Hopefully this helps you see a clear path to take AutoCAD data and get it prepped and ready for use within Revit to start building our conceptual pier. Thanks for watching.